maybe I'm getting forgetful in my old age, but I'm pretty sure that we saw this game already on Thursday last week, and I didn't like it then. So let's break down another instance of the Blue Jackets getting goalied on today's Locked On Blue Jackets.
You're Locked On Blue Jackets, your daily podcast on the Columbus Blue Jackets, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello and welcome to Locked On Blue Jackets, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. I am, as always, your host, Jay Foster, here to give you the good, the bad, and the ugly about your favorite team and mine, the Columbus Blue Jackets. Before we get things started, I want to thank everyone for making this your first listen of the day every single day. Locked On Blue Jackets is free and available on all podcast platforms and over on YouTube. I also have to let you know that today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Download the FanDuel app now by visiting FanDuel.com and win $300 in bonus bets if your first $5 bet wins. We saw this game already. This was game one in Nashville. How are we doing this again already? The Blue Jackets lose 3-2 to the New Jersey Devils. It was really 3-1 is the thing, but also the Devils scored an empty netter. So, was it really a 2-2 game? You tell me. No, the Blue Jackets lose 3-2. They managed to put 2 goals behind the goalies after putting 33 shots on them. And they got, I believe, Jet Greaves faced 27 shots and allowed 2 goals. So again, a very good night for Jet Greaves, who, 25 saves on 27 shots, a 926 save percentage. Take that with his 938 from the first game, and he is rolling on around about a 930 save percentage through 2 games, and he is 0-2. Because for some reason, we're doing the thing again where the Blue Jackets can only score when one goalie is in net. And yes, it's very early in the season. There's not enough games here to have a trend in terms of that, right? But I do feel a little bit insane that they have scored 1 goal for the Nashville game in front of Jet, and then they scored 2 goals tonight for Jet, and then they put 7 up against the Wild when Elvis was in there. And I'm not suggesting that they play differently when Elvis is in net, or that they play harder when Elvis is in net because they have less faith in him, or whatever the current theory is. I do have a theory on this, which is I'm going to pull up my text to a friend because I was talking about this in the during the game, in between her saying, hey, you should use the podcast to crowdfund for an Etsy witch to fix the power play, which I don't disagree with, but basically she said, I wonder if some of it is being used to Elvis just playing the puck a lot more, and the players need to adjust to Jet, who doesn't play the puck as much. And I don't have stats for this. This is entirely maybe a little bit confirmation bias, right? Or recency bias. But I feel like Jet freezes the puck more in terms of his rebound control. And I feel like Elvis is more likely to keep the play going, which, and whether that's on purpose, whether that's just because his rebound control is less controlled than Greaves. But typically, I feel like Jet will face the shot and make the save, and that will create a face-off in their own zone rather than continuation of play and a potential zone exit, right? And as we all know, the Blue Jackets don't know how face-offs work, so typically I feel like they're going to lose those face-offs, which is going to create less possession, which means that they're doing fewer zone exits and thus fewer zone entries, thus creating more offense, right? And all of this is kind of circumstantial, a theory that I am throwing around, but I do think that might be something to it, because I feel like the flow of play is a little bit more chaotic around Elvis, and that might just be because Elvis is kind of a chaotic goalie and Jet is kind of a more controlled goalie, all things considered. But I do still feel kind of lightly insane about the fact that they've scored 7 goals in front of one goalie over one game and 3 goals in front of another goalie in 2 games. So if, as what I suspect will happen, Elvis starts game 4, we're going to have to see, okay, have they remembered how to score again? Because that's That's going to be really frustrating if they can only score in front of one goalie, especially because, again, Chet's been really good in these games. And like, some of it is probably a Blue Jackets thing, and some of it is also, they faced UC Cyrus in game one, and he was really, really good. But like, they faced Jake Allen for 2 periods in this game, and then an ice cold Jacob Markstrom in the 3rd period. Like, and they couldn't put a goal past him quicker than 19 minutes and 40 seconds into the 3rd period. Like, frustrating, maddening. The other thing that I want to complain about, because we're doing complaints today on Locked on Blue Jackets. What the hell is going on with the penalty kill? Because the penalty kill was not good last year. In fact, special teams as a whole have never been like the Blue Jackets' strength, right? But it's been so bad this year to like start the year. And again, small sample size, regression will happen, it'll even out. But like, I believe they've had 15 penalty kill opportunities, and they have allowed 8 power play goals on those 15 opportunities. So like over 50% of your power play or your penalty kills are resulting in a goal against. That makes me feel insane. Now, granted, some of those are 5-on-3 goals, which, I give a little bit more grace to, but like, if this team can be league average in penalty kill, like they probably win. They probably have a 2-1 record instead of a 1-2 record right now, right? Because of the goals that they've allowed so far this season, they allowed 1 5-on-5 goal against Nashville and 1 power play goal. They allowed 4 power play goals against Minnesota and 0 even strength goals. Last night against the Devils, they allowed 2 power play goals and 1 empty net goal. Blue Jackets have allowed 1 even strength goal in 3 games so far this season. If their penalty kill is anything above abysmal, then these games look so much better, right? And I don't know what it is. Like, I think what I'm gonna do, I'm traveling for the next couple of days, so, well, A, watch out for Blue Jackets news, but B, I think when I get back to my apartment, what I'm gonna have to do is pull these games and just watch the penalty kills again and see what's going on, because, like, statistically speaking, this has to be so far away from just bad luck even. Like, is this a systems breakdown? Is it just that they've decided that actually they think that they can win based on 5-on-5 so they don't have to try in the penalty kill? I don't know. But, like, you can't allow 8 power play goals in your first 3 games and expect to win games. Like, frankly, the fact that they won the Minnesota game was just kind of incredible. And I think it was mostly that Phil Gustafsson had an off night, right? But, man, this team is maddening to watch sometimes. I liked a lot of what I saw, again, especially at even strength. I do think that this team is playing extremely well at even strength. It just so happens that they play extremely badly on the penalty kill, and it is absolutely sinking this team, right? And it makes no sense. It truly makes no sense to me. That's kind of enough complaining for now, though. I think I want to talk about some of the things that I liked in this game. I was going to say starting and ending with Koromachenko, who now has 4 goals in 2 games, and I believe is leading the league in goals. But I also want to talk about some other things. So we're not going to start and end with Koromachenko, but we're going to start with him. And we'll do that in just a second here on Locked on Blue Jackets. First, I'm going to tell you about FanDuel. The NFL season is here, and FanDuel has an offer you don't want to miss. Right now, new customers can bet just $5 and get $300 in bonus bets if you win. That's right. All you got to do, pick a bet, put down $5, and if it hits, you'll unlock $300 in bonus bets to use across the app. Just find the heaviest possible favorite that you can, put $5 on it. I used to tell people to pick the Chiefs, and then the Chiefs lost a bunch of games immediately after I said that. So now I don't tell people to bet on the Chiefs, but if you find a heavy favorite, put $5 on it, and if it comes through, you're going to get $300 that you can use whatever you want. FanDuel has parlays, they've got player props. You can even follow live during games. So if you think that a comeback is on the way and you want to put a little bit of money on that, then you can do that. FanDuel makes the game day experience so much better, whether you're a casual fan or you love diving into the stats. So what are you waiting for? Visit FanDuel.com to download the app today to get started. Welcome back to Locked On Blue Jackets. This is the Kromachenko Power Hour. We're just going to spend the next 14 minutes talking about Kromachenko. No. It's so impressive to me that obviously Kromachenko had 8 shots on goal in the first game and 0 goals, right? And he talked about it afterward. He worked on a bunch of stuff in practice, and then he talked to one of the reporters, I think probably Jeff Svoboda, where he basically said, like, yeah, if I get lots of shots on goal, I'm going to score lots of goals, right? And then he has followed that up with like a hat trick in game 2 and another goal tonight. And he could have had another hat trick tonight. I feel like he could have had at least 2 goals, maybe 3, right? And it's just so funny that you see this a lot, right? Of guys that get stoned during one game and they're like, yeah, no, I'm going to go out and be better the next game, right? The goals are going to come. But Gromachenko is really kind of putting his money where his mouth is in a very funny and also very satisfying way. He is carrying this team right now, especially, you know, the offense is kind of come and go, but no one else on this team has more than 2 goals. Voronkov got his second tonight. Initially, I thought it was Provorov, but I guess Voronkov touched it. But Marchenko has 4 goals, is leading the team in scoring, and like I called him a superstar on my little side block thing here, and they're kind of tongue in cheek, but also like the more times I say it, the more I'm like, no, maybe he's going to be making $17 million in a couple of years, like Kirill Kaprizov, because every time I watch him, I'm just like, man, what an unbelievably skilled clutch player. Like, just his shot is good. He is good in his own zone. Like, the chemistry with Monahan speaks for itself, but I feel like he makes everyone around him better and doesn't sacrifice any of his own game to do so, right? Because you look at someone like Bujena, for example, who is a fine middle six player, but if you look at Bujena's underlying stats, what's really funny is when he's on the ice, everyone else is better. Except, like, he doesn't necessarily get better, but he makes everyone around him better. And Kromachenko does the same, except at a much, much higher individual level. So he makes everyone else better, but he also steps up himself, which is really, really great to see. And, like, again, just, I have nothing but bad things. Nothing but good things to say about Kromachenko. I was going to say I have no bad things, and then my wires got crossed. I have 0 bad things to say about Kromachenko. He's perfect, and he's never done anything wrong. So jot that down. Someone else that I wanted to shout out as having a really good game is someone that I've kind of been dogging on a little bit in the last couple episodes. Dante Fabro has really kind of struggled to start the season. I thought he was really, really solid tonight. I don't have the numbers up of like defense pairings. I feel like they split up Provorov, Severson, and Werenski Fabro for a little bit, but I don't know if that's like I just happened to catch the handful of seconds. I kept catching the handful of seconds between the line changes or not, but like Dante Fabro, I thought was really, really dialed in the offensive zone tonight. He did create almost 2 expected goals all by himself, which I do believe leads everyone on the Blue Jackets by a significant margin. Yeah, he's got 0.4 expected goals for higher than Zach Werenski, and we all know that Zach Werenski loves to create goals, right? But this was a really, really good bounce back game from Dante Fabro, which is great, which is exactly what we needed to see, right? Kind of a return to form for Provorov and Severson. I thought they were very poor in this game. But again, I'm kind of willing to give them the benefit of the doubt because they were really, really strong the last couple of games. So again, we'll see. Again, hockey is stupid, right? Everyone is not going to have a good game every single night. So I'm not going to sit here and say, oh, we're returning to form. Provorov and Severson are terrible again, because they've had 2 good games and 1 bad game, right? So it feels kind of disingenuous to just assume that they're going to continue to be bad. But I do think that a bounce back game is required from them. Because they were the weakest defense pairing on the ice, and also just the weakest 2 players on the ice for the Blue Jackets. Anyway, someone else I wanted to shout out talking about the defense. Jake Christensen did not play a lot. He only played 743, but in his minutes, the shot attempts were 9-5 in his favor, which is, again, considering he hasn't played yet this season, like this was his season debut. He basically gave up zero. He didn't create a lot of offense, but he gave up basically nothing, which is kind of exactly what I want from a third pairing defenseman, right? Is you want them to not be a complete liability on the ice, which is sometimes easier said than done, but like I'm not looking for my third pairing to be Zach Werenski, right? I'm looking for my third pairing to be a little bit more defensive, to create some offense when you have it, but also to not give up a ton. And again, like the team was, he had five. The team was 5-0 in terms of scoring chances for, scoring chances against when he was on the ice. And he's one of two players that had a complete success rate. By which I mean he was one of two players that didn't allow a scoring chance against when he was on the ice. And the other one was Miles Wood, who played 1 minute 16 and was then brutally murdered by a New Jersey Devil. And missed, like he got hurt like 5 minutes into the game, which is not great. But so Jake Christensen was the only guy that played the entire game and didn't give up a scoring chance against. So I personally really, really happy with that. I liked him with Matejchuk. I think Matejchuk had a little bit of a down game. But this is a pairing that I think really, really intrigues me. And I don't know how long Eric Branson's going to be out of the lineup for. But I'm really glad that we're getting a chance to see Jake Christensen in the lineup now because, again, he was far and away the best defenseman in the preseason, and it was frustrating that he started the season in the press box, right? So I'm glad that we're getting to see from him now, like some really, really promising shutdown defense because I think that's what this team needs is an actual legitimate shutdown defense because Ivan Provorov doesn't count on that. He just plays a lot of penalty kill minutes. But that doesn't make him a good defensive defenseman, right? But beyond that, like I said, I had lots to like about this game. Some things I didn't like. Obviously, we've talked about the special teams. We've talked about the fact that this team keeps getting goalied. Like, I'm being kind of dramatic and hyperbolic of, this team is never going to score again. It'll even out, right? 3 games into the season, and this team has scored, 10 goals, I want to say. Scoring 3 1/3 goals per game is a pretty good clip, right? Especially when you're allowing basically nothing at even strength. Again, if they figure out the penalty kill, this team is going to be in a really, really good spot. Unfortunately, I don't know how much faith I have in this team to figure out the penalty kill necessarily because, it's been bad for a really long time and they don't seem to be changing anything. Like, they're changing personnel, but as far as I'm aware, the systems are the same. And also they keep the same guy is running the penalty kill in Steve McCarthy. And I don't think he's doing a particularly good job of it, but somehow he has managed to keep his job through 3 or 4 different head coaches, which is wild to me. Like, he must be a really, really great guy. Because his penalty kill systems are super not. But like I said, beyond that, I was going to say no real complaints. That's a lie. I always have complaints. But, you can't fault the even strength play of this team right now. The goals will come. I do think that this is a little bit of regression and also a little bit that, again, the penalty kill is making the even strength play kind of look bad by comparison because you should be able to outscore a penalty kill. Allowing 8 power play goals over 3 games is kind of ridiculous. Gotta be better than that in many, many different ways. So we're going to talk a little bit more about the game in just a second. I want to talk about the lineup's a little bit top heavy right now, and I don't know that all of the forward lines are clicking as they should. And I want to talk about that in just a second here at Locked On Blue Jackets. First, though, I'm going to tell you about Monarch Money. Most people can't name all their financial accounts or even what they're worth, whether that's 401ks, properties, investments. And when you don't have the full picture, you can end up leaving money on the table. And that's where Monarch Money comes in. It's an all-in-one personal finance tool that brings your entire financial life together in one clean, easy-to-use interface on your laptop or on your phone. It's built for people with busy lives. If you've put off organizing your finances, that's my favorite thing to do, is put off organizing literally anything in my life. Monarch is for you. It does all of the heavy lifting for you. You can link all your accounts in minutes, see clear data visuals, get smart categorization of your spending, and finally feel in control of your money without ever touching a spreadsheet. Do you think that you're not saving as much as you maybe should be? Well, Monarch can help you notice how much you're saving, when you're saving it, and tell you how much you should be saving, or even find like forgotten 401ks, inefficient investment allocations, all of that stuff. Don't let financial opportunity slip through the cracks. Use code LOCKEDONNHL at monarchmoney.com in your browser for 50% off your first year. That's 50% off your first year at monarchmoney.com with code LOCKEDONNHL. Welcome back to Locked On Blue Jackets. We're just going to finish off here by talking a little bit about the lines because I don't really have much problem with the defense at the minute, which is shocking to me because I assumed that will be what I would have the most problem with. And I think it's important to note also that playing with 11 forwards really kind of banjacks the lineup in a way that, you've got random. Someone's going to have a double shift, which it looks like it was Kromachenko for most of the game, which is very funny. But Adam Fantilli took a spin there. Charlie Coyle took a spin there. So, like, the lines were not as neat as they usually are. However, here's the thing. The only completely effective line was the top line, the Voronkov, Monahan, Marchenko line. They had a 64% shot attempt advantage when they were on the ice. Every other line that played more than 2 minutes together was sub 50%. So the Fantilli, Janis, Sillinger line was at 43.75. The Johnson, Coyle, Olivier line was at 45. And then obviously the fourth line didn't really get a chance to do anything because they had to kind of juggle things, right? That's not ideal. Because yes, Kromachenko is capable of doing a ton of heavy lifting for this team. I love that top line. I think it's great. I think Dmitry Voronkov has really kind of come into his own to start the season. Like, he's keeping up in ways that he wasn't able to do that before. I love Sean Monahan at that top line. Adam Fantilli had 31 goals last year. Adam Fantilli is not going to score 31 goals this year with Boone Jenner and Cole Sillinger as his wingers. He just isn't, right? Like, that line is not built for scoring. And that's your second line. Like, you want your second line to be scoring goals. It's a great crash and bang line. Like, Boone Jenner and Cole Sillinger do that really well, but there's no help for Fantilli on that line offensively. Which is really, really frustrating, right? And again, I understand that they like Johnson with Coyle. But for me, you've got to put Johnson back up on that second line because he's offense and Fantilli is offense. Coyle and Olivier are more of a checking line, although there is some offense there. Jenner and Sillinger are also checking forwards, right? Like, that's four. That right there, Jenner, Sillinger, Coyle, Olivier, that's 4 third line forwards. Kent Johnson should not be on the third line over both Jenner and Sillinger. And I know that we've talked about this before, and I am going to be a broken record about this, but it does make me feel insane that neither Fantilli or Johnson have really kind of Fantilli scored in the second game of the season, right? Yes, that's good. You love to see it. Johnson has not popped yet this season. Fantilli, again, is really trying to keep that line afloat, I think. And it's just not working. So for me, again, we go back to why can't this team score? Well, it's because it's the only line that can create offense is the top line. And then you've got 2 checking lines that aren't really doing anything with skilled players that aren't getting any help on them. And then, quite frankly, a fourth line that does functionally nothing. And I'm not asking for my fourth line to do a lot, but I would like them to do slightly more than functionally nothing, So I'll be interested to see if Miles Wood's going to miss time, if they're going to call anyone up, if they're going to call up someone like Delbel Balouse to slot into the lineup, or if they're going to call up, maybe a Brendan Gaunce or a Jack Williams or someone to slot into the lineup. Or are they going to play Chinakhov? My guess is no. I think Chinakhov's time on this team is over. They might put him in. Again, it depends on Miles Wood availability. It depends on his general attitude with the coaching, I think. But, like, if I was a betting man, and I'm not really, but sometimes I am, I think Chinakhov might have played his last game as a Blue Jacket. Like, I genuinely wouldn't be shocked if they called up a forward from Cleveland and played him over Chinakhov. So, I don't know. But something's got to change with these forward lines, like the top line working as advertised. Perfect. Beautiful. Never change it. Stunning. The middle six, you got to do something. I don't know what, but you got to do something. You got to take one of Jenner or Sillinger off that second line and put ideally Johnson there. But frankly, I would take Charlie Coyle there over both Jenner and Sillinger at this point. I don't think they'll do that because they like Charlie Coyle as their 3C. Please don't put Matthew Olivier on the second line. I realize that I need to state that so the monkey paw doesn't grant my wish. What I want is Ken Johnson on the second line. And the Ken Johnson on the second line campaign will continue until morale improves. So hopefully they figure out how to score next game. I don't know. I don't remember the opponent off the top of my head of who's next for the Blue Jackets. And the NHL website is inscrutable at trying to find something fast. So they are playing again next, I believe, on the 16th, which is the Thursday. And they are playing the Colorado Avalanche. So great. Awesome. A great team to try and find your offense against. We'll see how it goes. That's what I've got for today. I'll be back with another episode tomorrow, talking probably a little bit more about my Kent Johnson for the second line campaign. I want to talk a little bit more about the goaltending as well, because that, again, is... I'm sure Jet's frustrated, right, to be 0-2 to start the season, but we're having a really good problem right now of both goalies are playing really well. So I don't remember the last time we had this quote-unquote problem, right? So I want to talk a little bit more about that. That's going to be in tomorrow's episode. Thank you for listening to this episode, for making it your first listen of the day every single day. Locked On Blue Jackets is free and available on all podcast platforms. We're over on YouTube. Comments, questions, criticisms, email me at lockedonbluejackets@gmail.com. You can find me on Blue Sky at JAKOBFORSTER. You can find the show at LO_Blue Jackets on Twitter. Another episode tomorrow. So until then, thank you for listening to this one. And make sure you stay locked on.